There's a moment in horse sport that looks completely normal, right? Up until it isn't. A horse is moving powerfully, balanced, and completely in control. The rhythm is steady, the performance is flawless, and nothing appears out of place. And then, without warning, everything changes. The horse collapses, there is no stumble, no visible injury, and no time to react. One moment, everything is exactly as it should be, and the next, it is over. This is one of the most disturbing realities in the equestrian world: sudden death in horses. And it happened even to the very best. In 2011, Hickstead, an Olympic gold medal winning show jumping horse and one of the most successful horses in the world, collapsed and died during a competition round in front of thousands of spectators. His death was later attributed to an aortic rupture, a catastrophic failure of a major blood vessel connected to the heart. But what made it so shocking was not just what happened, it's that there was no warning. Now, here is where things take a turn. A new scientific study suggests that those warning signs may not only exist, but that they may be detectable during something as simple as a jog. Researchers have found that a short 1-minute heart recording taken while a horse is moving at a low intensity may be able to identify which horses are at risk of dangerous heart rhythm problems before anything goes wrong. Not during a race, not at peak exertion, but while everything still looks completely normal. And that raises a much bigger question. If this kind of monitoring had existed earlier, could it have prevented moments like that? Could it have identified risk in a horse like Hickstead before his final round? And if it can detect risk during light exercise, should this kind of testing be used during something like an FEI jog? To understand what this study really means, we first need to understand what actually causes sudden death in horses and why it has been so difficult to detect. Sudden death in horses is one of the most complex and least understood issues in equestrian sport. It does not only occur in racing, but also in show jumping, eventing, and even during routine training. What makes it particularly difficult to understand is that these horses are often considered completely healthy. They are elite athletes, carefully managed, and regularly examined by veterinarians. Despite this, catastrophic events can still occur. One of the most commonly associated factors is cardiac arrhythmia, which refers to an abnormal or irregular heartbeat. However, not all arrhythmias are dangerous. Many horses experience mild, irregular heart rhythms, particularly during or after exercise, and these often resolve without causing harm. The challenge lies in identifying the arrhythmias that are actually life-threatening. Certain irregular heart rhythms can interfere with the heart's ability to pump the blood. When this happens, oxygen delivery to vital organs can be compromised, and in severe cases, this can lead to collapse or sudden cardiac death. One of the biggest challenges in preventing sudden death in horses is that dangerous cardiac conditions are often invisible during routine exams. A horse can pass a veterinary inspection with no abnormalities. Its heart sounds normal, its behavior is consistent, and its performance shows no indication of a problem. However, this does not necessarily mean the horse is safe. Many serious arrhythmias only occur under intense physical stress, when the cardiovascular system is pushed to its limits. This means that unless a horse is being monitored under those conditions, the issue may never be detected. Even when monitoring is used, arrhythmias can be intermittent and unpredictable. They may appear briefly and then disappear, leaving no trace behind. By the time the horse is evaluated again, everything appears normal. This is what makes sudden death in horses so difficult to predict. The warning signs are often subtle and easy to miss. For a long time, the assumption has been that dangerous heart issues only reveal themselves under extreme conditions. In other words, if a horse appears normal at rest or during light exercise, it is generally considered safe. However, this assumption may be incomplete. If early warning signs exist at lower levels of exertion, then the problem is not that these conditions are completely invisible. The problem is that we have not been looking for them in the right way. This shift in perspective is what makes this new study so important. In this study, researchers analyzed 110 racehorses using short ECG recordings that lasted just 60 seconds. These recordings were taken while the horses were either standing still or performing light exercise, such as jogging. The horses were not under stress, and their heart rates remained relatively low. At first glance, this type of data would not typically be expected to reveal serious problems. However, the researchers used artificial intelligence to analyze the recordings in a more advanced way. Instead of focusing only on obvious abnormalities, the system examined subtle patterns within the heartbeat. It looked for small variations in the timing and structure of the heart's electrical signals. These variations were extremely subtle, and they would likely go unnoticed using traditional methods. Despite this, the results were significant. The system was able to identify which horses were more likely to develop dangerous arrhythmias during intense exercise. This suggests that early warning signs may exist even when the horse appears completely normal. To understand why this works, it is helpful to consider how the heart functions. A healthy heart follows a structured and coordinated rhythm. Each beat is part of a stable pattern that allows the heart to function efficiently. When this pattern begins to break down, even slightly, small irregularities can develop. These irregularities may not be visible during a routine examination, but they can indicate that the heart is under strain. The artificial intelligence used in this study evaluates how organized or disordered the heartbeat is. A more disordered pattern can indicate a higher risk of developing dangerous arrhythmias. This type of analysis allows for the possibility of identifying risk before more obvious symptoms appear. This leads to an important question. If cardiac risk can be detected during low-intensity movement, should this type of monitoring become part of standard veterinary checks? In FEI competition, horses already undergo trot-ups or jogs to assess soundness before competing. These moments are specifically designed to evaluate the horse while it is moving at a controlled low intensity. If a simple heart rate monitor could be used during that same process, it raises the possibility of adding another layer of protection. However, implementing something like this would not be straightforward. There would be questions about how accurate the system is, how the data should be interpreted, and what actions should be taken if a risk is identified. There would also be broader questions about responsibility. If we have the ability to detect risk, what should we do with that information? And how should decisions be made about whether a horse is safe to compete? Sudden death in horses has long been one of the most difficult aspects of equestrian sport because it often feels unpredictable and unexplained. However, this research suggests that it may not be entirely unpredictable. This may not be dramatic or obvious, but they may still be present, hidden within the rhythm of the heartbeat. For the first time, we have the tools to begin identifying those signals. This does not eliminate risk completely, but it changes something important. It gives us the opportunity to move from reaction to prevention. And ultimately, the future of equestrian sport depends not only on performance, but on our ability to protect the horses who make it possible.